Did my sorority sisters, Alpha Z Delta, count as my sisters? 2010 to 2011. I'm filming this 24 December 2024. I am Tanis Leonhardi, she, her, hers of Seattle. I am Tanis Coralee, she, her, hers of Graceland. I'm going to provide my perspective on whether I viewed my sorority sisters from when I lived in Alpha Z Delta sorority at the University of Washington, 2010 to 2011, as my sisters. So yes, for myself, the term sister does not refer to any one individual. It is not, in that sense, if I use the term sister, it is not actually an identifier to any one individual per my life experience with a bunch of different sisters. So it's kind of like sister and aunt or auntie are social terms that are applied to people, to women, and sometimes men, depending on the community one's in. And so I can be in the student lounge and it's like, hey sister, hey auntie, or just kind of like a fun, I'm an asexual, so that's part of my community / culture, but it's also like, I lived in South Africa for a little bit, and auntie was a common term for a woman older than oneself, just in general. So in that sense, it's not an identifier, a unique. So if I wanted to be really like nitty gritty for my entire life experience, and here's one where sometimes people call their sorority sisters their sister for life. And that is not true for me. So I got my stuff was stripped, my quills and stuff like that. I quit in 2011. And so I can't wear my letters Alpha Z Delta because I'm not a member. My membership was suspended when I quit. So for me, I do not have sorority sisters. I did have sorority sisters, so I did have sisters. And we lived together in a house, a lot of us. And some people did use, I used sorority sisters, some people used sisters in addressing it, so it's kind of a mix. I think people kind of came to some of the people who were ahead of me, like, so I was a freshman. This was my first year at the University of Washington, the 2010 to 2011 academic year, and so there was some people took off right away, and some people kind of grew into the term, and I wasn't around long enough to really grow into just like calling my bunkmate my sister. My sorority sister, yeah, my sister. I didn't quite reach that point. And then there was for my sorority anyway, the best sorority at the University of Washington, Alpha Z Delta. Nice, I chose that one. They chose me. It was a mutual choice for me joining and being initiated and stuff like that. And quitting. They didn't pressure me into staying. They did say they wanted me to stay, but at the end of the day, it was amicable all the way through. Yeah, it was the best sorority at the University of Washington. And was it formative in terms of my sexual orientation identity? It was, I talked, it was the place and the people, my sisters. So in a hindsight, maybe more in terms of they were meant more to me than perhaps sisters in other contexts. They were the people I talked to in actually settling on the term asexual. It was women. It was my sorority sisters at the time were actually the people I had that conversation with when I settled on the term asexual. So perhaps the sisters that are most meaningful in that sense, the generalized sense, for my sexual orientation story are my sorority sisters. My swim team sisters were actually did factor in there as well, and that one goes back to when I was 6 years old. So they're not the only sisters I've had that have been foundational in that sense. However, the sisters I've had that have been foundational in my sexual orientation, identity have been outside the house kind of sisters. Yes. Yeah. Anything else? I will say, of the generalized sense of sisters, these are the sisters who are, it was the only community of sisters I've had where we were all okay with getting our pictures taken. We would get dressed up and we'd go out to fraternities, or we'd go out for a social, or we'd just have chapter and stuff like that. And so we'd get dressed up and we'd take pictures, and like, we liked taking pictures and we liked dressing up and stuff like that. So it was a new experience for me in that sense of we embraced being seen together. So there we go. So there's all my, did my sorority sisters Alpha Z Delta count as my sisters 2010 to 2011? And I'm filming this Tuesday, 24 December 2024.